Self-concept and acceptance. Self-concept and acceptance. And it's so important we discuss this, and I will say why. Everybody must know themselves. Everybody must know themselves. Whether you're a male or you're a female, you must know yourself. It's the knowledge of yourself that would help you when people tell you who you are not. It's the knowledge of yourself that will help you, distinguish between people's expectation of you and who you really are, what you can do. Okay, so it's important we clarify that it's important we know ourselves. And one of the greatest way we can know ourselves is by knowing God. When we know God, the knowledge of God will open up our eyes and open up our lives to who we are. Because a lot of times we don't really know who we are. We don't know who we are. You don't know the extent to who you can become. You don't know what you carry. You may know some. Maybe you know 10% or 5% of what you carry. It is only your maker that has the entire 100% of who you are. He knows the 100% of who you are, who you can become, who you represent. So that's why it's so important that get acquainted with God. Get acquainted with God. This is a Christian counseling and platform. So God is going to come out. There's no way it won't come out because that's who we represent. We represent Him. Okay, so this is a Christian counseling platform. So, like I said, for every one of us, we need to know who we are. One of the greatest way you can know who you really are is knowing God. When you know God, God will show you who you are because you don't know your entire self. You don't know your entire potential. You don't know your potential. You may be able to jump to this height, and all your life, I can jump to this height. But God that knows your potential knows that you can actually jump and go over to have God in your space. The place of worship, the place of prayer, the place of conversations with God, heart to heart, not religion, not they told us to pray, so we'll pray. Or you go to God with a prayer point. Oh God, do this for me. I'm talking of heart to heart talk. As you have that heart to heart talk with God, you'll be able to begin to discover who God is and make it a regular thing that you have a heart to heart talk with God from time to time. I think it's very powerful for each and every one of us because the amazing thing is that God knows us. He knows our names. He knows what we are going through. He knows what we are going to go through. So you can't hide from God. You can't pretend. So whenever you come to God, make sure you have heart to heart conversations with God. And that's the first place. That's where we can first get our self-concept from. Ourself, because God knows all. It's God that has our blueprint in his hands. So it starts with God. One. That's number one. So now let's go to definitions. What is self-concept? Today we're talking about self-concept and acceptance. Self-concept and acceptance. And these two work together or is important. They're important for each other. If you have a good self-concept, it means you accept yourself. It means you don't reject yourself. And we're going to get to that. We're going to discuss more on that. So what is self-concept? Self-concept is how we perceive our behavior, our abilities, and our unique characteristics. How we perceive our behavior, our abilities, and our unique characteristics. And self-concept is not self-esteem, but it encompasses self-esteem. That means from self-concept, you can break it into three layers. Self-concept encompasses your self-image, it encompasses your ideal self, and it encompasses your self-esteem. But self-concept is not self-esteem. They are two different things. But in self-concept, you can find self-image there. Okay? So let's talk a little bit more about this. Self-image, since we said we've broken it down now. Self-concept broken down to self-image, ideal self, and then self-esteem. What is self-image? Self image is how you see yourself now. How do you see yourself now? How do you see yourself right now in the present? In terms of your physical characteristics, in terms of your personality traits, in terms of your social roles. How do you see yourself now? You see yourself as beautiful. Now I'm talking about how you see yourself. I'm not talking about how people perceive you. Excuse me. I'm not talking about how people perceive you. I'm asking you, how do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as beautiful? Do you see yourself as excellent? Do you see yourself as someone that will be great? Do you see yourself as, the life of a party, that whenever you walk in, everywhere is lively, everywhere is full of life because you walked in? How do you see yourself? And it's very important that for all of us, we're able to, have a positive image of ourselves. A positive self image is important because it will influence how you do things. It will influence what guides your actions and the way you do things. So it's so important. A positive self image. Okay. A positive self image in terms of physical characteristics. Do you look down on your height and say, I'm too short, I'm too fat, I'm not as beautiful as this person, or I'm too dull? How you see yourself right now is your self image. So you must begin to develop it positively. If it was negative before, begin to develop it positively and begin to tell yourself the right things. Have affirmations that you say to yourself and affirm yourself and say, hey, you may not have everything perfect now, but you're a great person. You're going to have a beautiful future. Begin to speak to yourself. One of the things we know from psychology is that what you tell yourself is more important than what every other person tells you. Your self talk is more important than any talk anybody can give you anywhere. So make sure you are telling yourself positive things about yourself because that will affect your strength, it will affect your capability, it will affect how you would, throw yourself into things, how you give your best, whether you give your best or you give your least. So it's important you always have a positive, healthy self image. Very, very important. Now, number two, remember I said self concept has self image, it has ideal self, and it has self esteem. Number two, ideal self. Your ideal self is the person you want to become. That's why people identify with role models, they identify with mentors, they identify and say, oh, this person is my hero. Because what they are trying to say, they are saying that that person has something they want to be like. The person is exhibiting something they want to be like. So that person or the image of that person gives them an ideal self. That, oh, I would like to be this kind of person. Now, it could be a physical person, that means somebody you know, maybe by name, you probably have never met them before. Or it could just be an image in your mind that I want to be this kind of woman that would so impact lives, that would empower young people, that's my own ideal self, right? That's what I'm discussing with you. I want to be someone that empowers young people, that when young people come in contact with me, they find their purpose, their lives are rearranged, are right, and rearrange in the right path. They find their purpose, they find their essence, they begin to live purposeful life, they begin to enjoy their life the right way, the God kind of way. I want to be that kind of person that inspires young people, that because I'm in your life or because you heard me speak, you're able to channel your life and, turn your life in the direction of righteousness, of doing things right, whether at work, at school, in relationships, in marriages, whatever it is you are doing, whatever it is you're involved with, that your life changes positively because you heard my voice, because you read my book, because you had some encounter with me. Now that's my ideal self, I'm trusting God for and I'm working towards. So it's important that as young people, you must have an ideal self. Don't just live life, blank. Have something you look up to, have something you desire for your life is important. Have an ideal self. And a lot of people, about everybody has ideal self. Some people do, but they don't put it in front of them. They don't remind themselves. But while others really remind themselves and say, hey, we are on a journey, we are going somewhere. We may not have gotten there yet, we've not achieved it yet, but we are on a journey somewhere. So, very important, you must have who you want to be like, the attributes you want to have in the future. What do I want to become? Who do I want to look like? What are the things that would characterize my life? I want to be great. I want to be impactful. I want to be touching lives everywhere. I want to be able to pay school fees for many. I want to be able to pay health bills. I want to be able to feed, have a place where I'm feeding thousands of people, where people collect salary from my company, where people are being paid, lives are being transformed. You must have that ideal self. Very important. Number three part of self concept, or the third leg of self concept, is self esteem, meaning how much you like yourself. Do you really like yourself? Some people don't like themselves. I think it was last week we talked about self esteem and sexual, because we're trying to talk about marking the world purity day. So we talked about sexual purity. So self-esteem and sexual purity was what we dealt with last week. Now this week we're talking about self-image and yes, self-concept and acceptance. Right? So your self-esteem, like I said, is how much you like yourself, how much you value yourself. So do you value yourself? Do you like yourself? At every point in time, you'll be challenged. There will be situations that will challenge that perception if you really like yourself or you don't. And like I said last week, even if you don't like any other person, please like yourself. Because you are going to be with yourself forever. You are going to have you at least till you die. You can run from every other person, but you cannot run from yourself. So it's important that you like yourself, value yourself. And part of valuing yourself would mean you will not let a young man just treat you anyhow. Neither will you let a young woman treat you anyhow. Because you have value, you place value on yourself. You will not allow, things to just happen to you randomly out of nothing. You don't put yourself in a place for danger. You don't put yourself in a place of danger. You don't stay in a place that is mentally abused, physically, or whatever abuse. You don't put yourself in that situation. And if you're in that situation, you talk to someone and come out as much as possible or from such situation. You value yourself. I think that is very, very important. So we said self-concept is an umbrella term that covers self-image, meaning how you see yourself now, ideal self, who you want to become, and number three, self-esteem, if you like yourself. If you like yourself. So now let's go to acceptance. Remember, today we're talking about self-concept and acceptance. A lot of people do not accept themselves. They do not accept themselves. Maybe they are struggling with the image of themselves, their self-image. Maybe they are struggling, oh, I'm too fat, I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm not fine, I'm not intelligent. What are those common ones? Name it. A lot of people struggle with those words. Maybe negative words have been spoken to them. So they struggle with it. Some people struggle with it all through life. But that's why we are here and that's why we are speaking these words so that you can overcome it if you're in that situation. So some people have heard negative words all their life because they've heard it. They've said it to themselves. And because they've said it to themselves, somehow it has become their living, their reality. It has become everyday life for them, where they just expect they will not be accepted. That they walk into a gathering and people would look down on them. And they just expect negativity because that's what they've been used to. But you can come out of it. If you are that kind of person that you never expect good to happen to you, it means something is wrong. But the good news is that you can come out of it. You can begin to like yourself and celebrate who you are. You can begin to, enjoy who you represent. Who I am. I'm a child of God. I may not have things perfect now, but I know life is improving. There was a statement that Reverend Sam Adeyemi said to us many years ago. Then we went for DLA, Daystar Leadership Academy, some 12 years ago or so when I went. There was a statement he made. He said, we must say to ourselves every day and in every way, I am getting better and better. That was such an empowering statement. And he taught us that 12 years ago. And he said, no matter how you feel, keep saying that to yourself. Every day and in every way, I am getting better and better. And I want to leave that with you today. Perhaps you've always been looked down on, or you have even looked down on yourself. It's possible. You've always said that there's nothing good about you. Remember to speak positive words to yourself and say, you know what, no matter what I'm going through, every day and in every way, I am getting better and